sometimes there has to be a shift first. And then we get the answer. So I experienced that in my own life. I tried medications for depression, and that's actually what put me in a crisis. It was so fun. I actually write about it a little bit in my book. And I also did the 200 to 300 level shift. But some of you are familiar, I've written a book called Whereas I Was Blind, Now I See. And it's about the change of the process of going from denial to opening my eyes and seeing the truth of my situation and what I needed to do. And so it was a powerful thing. But in that process, a whole lot of emotional stuff started to come out. I did go take a medication, and it put me right, like I said, right into a crisis, and it started that whole thing. But it also introduced me to a whole lot of truth about what does work. And so that was the beginning of my journey with nutritional neurochemistry. So about that time, I was working as a substance abuse counselor, and I had many clients who were in recovery as I was. I've been in recovery 26 years as of last month. So that was important to me, that I stay in recovery. And I worked with people who also wanted really to be well. And so I started studying what worked, because when someone turns to an addiction, it's for a reason. And so when they grab onto something, it's to relieve something or to gain something, that, peace or a better mood. The trick, okay, so this is the trick and this is the key, is that if you reach to a true solution. So what would be a true solution? Any guesses? Facing it, very good. How about a spiritual solution? That's what I did. So, and the reason I loved actually working as a substance abuse counselor is because it directed many people to a spiritual solution. So even now, and back when I studied in the early 90s, the philosophy was there really isn't a cure. There's no medication. There's no, set, this is going to work for addictions. But the one thing that has worked ever since the 50s is AA, is 12-step programs. And so I started doing some heavy work, really heavy work in my life. And I turned to that spiritual solution and allowed a lot of the emotional stuff that had been in the background of my life to start coming through and getting out. And as a reward, I guess, so to speak, I found incredible treasures that corrected my brain chemistry. And so it was just, it all worked out. And I found my sanity. I found, many things along the way. So that all comes together. And it is at that 400 level. So changing the heart, finding the emotional releasing, or allowing the emotions to release, and then finding some true holistic answers. So holistic means that you bring together the mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. So I use this diamond. All right, I put spiritual up here, and then I put physical down here, because to me that's what makes sense in my mind. I put emotional on the right and mental on the left. Does that make sense to anybody else? So to me, what that is we're talking about integration. And I've talked a little bit about integration in other classes, but integration between left and right is literally, it's with our brains. We have a left brain and a right brain, and we've got to bring them together. And so for a lot of people, that is being able to bring your mental and your mind in with your emotional side and integrate them together so they work together instead of against each other. Same with the physical and the spiritual. And that's, I actually just learned this term a few months ago, vertical integration. All right, so vertical integration. Has anybody heard of the chakras? Is that familiar, anybody? All right. So one of the things I learned as I was starting to shift into the 500, which we're going to talk about, the holistic solutions, is that we have energy and kind of like software programs that are the chakras. And so as we do vertical integration, we're bringing together basically our energy, all right? So we have lower chakras, and that fits in a little bit with lower frequencies, okay? Because our lower chakras are our physical stuff and the stuff that keeps us kind of grounded on the planet. And then we have the upper chakras, which are you know, our mind and our spiritual connections, and, you know, and sometimes we're not connected. I see people that are top heavy in my, you know, and doing a lot of energy work. I have people that come in that just want to deal with the upper, you know, not deal with the lower, just the upper, just be happy up here. But then they aren't grounded, and so that's a problem. And then I have a lot of people that I see who won't go up there because, you know, that's the unknown. We know what's on the ground. We know what's in front of our face. That's safe, right? And so that's someone who's more in the physical. The trick is to bring it together. That's really tricky. How many people do you know that can do both? Have you found that? That's tricky. Okay. So anyway, so all that coming together is so important. And that's what starts to happen at the 500 level. So at the 500 level, we're talking affirmative thinking, okay? So that's our mind is at a high frequency. Inner peace, so this emotional stuff has lifted and we're in a good frequency emotionally. And you'll find that the emotions will shift quickly. So they still come up, stuff comes up, but you shift it quickly, you move, you know, back to your peaceful state, and symptoms are relieved holistically. Okay, so let me give you an example of a holistic symptom relief. Anybody familiar with migraines? Anybody, yeah, deal with that? Okay. So I discovered, at least in one case, I think more than one, that these migraines were also tied in with the crown chakra. Okay? So the crown chakra was blocked, and so this person, as they're experiencing these migraines, is also telling me that they're blocked when they feel it. When they pray, they feel like the prayers don't get through, and they don't really know if God's listening to them, and you know, and they're just kind of blocked there. And so they have the migraines, but they also have, you know, thoughts that tie into that and feelings that tie into that. Okay, so that's like a holistic symptom. And so if we're going to shift symptoms completely and get rid of the migraines completely, we've got to deal with the whole thing. So really our spiritual is like our energy, you know, our emotional stuff, we've got to get that out. So at a 500 level is where I see a lot of like energy work. Like you're working with the energy of emotion, you're working with holistic approaches. It might involve the chakras, it might involve other techniques that bring it all together. At the 600 level, this one's been really interesting, is that miraculous and profound shifts take place at the quantum level. You may not know about quantum level healing. Yeah, like quantum physics. And all layers are healed. So what I'm seeing happen at the 600 level is this like information therapy is going on. So it's kind of, it took me a while to grasp it, but it's working at kind of the DNA level. So it's like the information is coming to our system through, it's not just even energy work, it's coming at the quantum level, at the physics level of healing. And so it comes in ways that you don't really, it's kind of surprising. So let me give you a few examples of that. One of those is I have a biofeedback machine that I've started using. And it will pick up on these very subtle differences and shifts in people and pinpoints the root of disease, and it pinpoints all kinds of things and it starts to actually correct it by sending frequency back. So that's happening at an information level. It's kind of like the energy, but it takes it even further. Another one is Smarter Drops, and at the same time there's a Smarter Drops class going on. And it's something that's taken that information, put it into a formula, and then it gives your body like a whole library of information, and your body takes what it needs and it starts shifting. So it's really, there's a lot of interesting things that happen at that level. The other thing that I see at that level is mentoring. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the difference between mentoring and counseling, and this is my take on it.